This coming Sunday is Reformation Sunday, and in this episode, I'd like to give us a new way to think about it. Stay tuned. Hello, friends. Pastor Tim Westermeyer here, Senior Pastor of St. Philip the Deacon in the western suburbs of Minneapolis. Good to be with you as always. I want to begin first by just thanking you all for your feedback, your input from the last 2 or 3 episodes, which generated a handful of comments and inbound messages to me, and it was good to hear from you all. I think we're going to gather those 3 episodes into a playlist, which you can find for the future. So again, thanks for that. Today, we're taping this a few days before Reformation Sunday, so I want to talk about that, and I want to talk about it by way of a small book someone gave me. This is actually the text of the 2022 Passion Play from Oberammergau in Germany, which you have likely heard of. It's a very famous play that's done every 10 years. It was delayed because of COVID. It was supposed to be done last in 2020, and instead they pushed it out to 2022. It just completed its run in early October of 2022. Oberammergau is in Germany, so you might think, well, the reason I'm connecting this to Reformation Day is that Martin Luther, the founder of the Protestant Reformation, is also from Germany. And that is certainly one connection, but honestly, I'm thinking about this for a different reason. I just read through it, and I would commend it to you, by the way. I don't know if it's available online or if you can order this or not. But as I read it, I was struck by something that also strikes me every time I read another book, which I have mentioned, I think, at least once or twice here by Dorothy Sayers. This is also a setting of the story of Jesus meant to be acted. In this case, it was acted as a radio play, I believe in 12 different shorter plays. It's called The Man Born to be King. Very famously, C.S. Lewis indicated that he read this every Lent. And what connects these two for me is that in both cases, as you read the biblical narrative, as you read the story of Jesus, the characters come off the page. They become lifelike. I've used this language before, but they are no longer cardboard caricatures, which is often how I think we read biblical characters. Instead, they are fully rounded individuals who, as you hear their story, you can relate to. You think, oh, I may not agree with how you're behaving, but I understand it. I'm talking about everyone from Jesus' enemies, like Pilate and Herod or Caiaphas, the high priest, also to the disciples, not all of whom were particularly supportive or helpful at the end of Jesus' life. Whether you're talking about Peter or Judas, those are the sort of 2 main ones that come up in this play. Or whether you're talking about some minor disciples like Thomas. The women, as always, come out looking, I think, honestly, much stronger than most of the men, all of the Marys and Jesus' mother. And Nicodemus and Joseph of Arimathea, who were members of the High Council, also come across as being strong supporters of Jesus. But what you're left with is all of these characters, again, these fully rounded human characters, all have particular strengths and particular weaknesses. None of them are perfect. Jesus would be the only one who is. And that actually is what got me thinking about Reformation Sunday, which is again coming up this coming Sunday. Reformation Day is always on October 31st because October 31st, 1517 is when Martin Luther nailed the 95 Theses to the castle church door at Wittenberg. So the Sunday closest to that is Reformation Sunday. And I've mentioned this before as well. I grew up as a Lutheran at a small Lutheran church in Chicago. I went to a Lutheran undergraduate college. I have been a Lutheran my whole life. I am privileged and honored to serve as the senior pastor of an amazing Lutheran congregation here in Plymouth, Minnesota. But when I go back to those characters in the play, in either The Man Born to be King or the Passion Play from Oberammergau, I'm reminded that we have to be careful not to idolize or worship our own tradition. And in this way, I guess I would say each of the various Christian traditions, imagine that each of them is sort of like one of the characters in this play. Each has its own distinctive strengths, its distinctive blessings to the world, but each also has its distinctive blind spots. And in 2022, again, I celebrate the tradition I'm part of. I want to be very clear about that. But the tradition I'm part of isn't God. It's not Jesus. And so in all humility, we should celebrate those distinctives about our various traditions, whatever tradition you're part of, but we should all remember we're in this together and all bowing down to the one true God. One way to maybe complete this thought is to go to Martin Luther himself, who said this: "Should anyone knock at my heart and say, 'Who lives here?' I should reply, 'Not Martin Luther, but the Lord Jesus Christ.'" I pray that when people come here to St. Philip the Deacon or any other Lutheran church or any Christian church for that matter, yes, they will find distinctives from that particular tradition, and they will find, in the case of St. Philip the Deacon, they'll find Lutherans and they'll find Christians, but more important than that, I pray that they will find Jesus Christ here in this place. Happy Reformation Sunday. Thanks for being with me, and be well, stay in touch, and God bless.